Hey everybody, good morning. Mestre Vibes coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here. It's a little bit breezy, so the weather's kind of nice. It was really breezy last night. Last night I was really lucky enough to go with Disco and Anthony and Takafusa. If you know us here, then you know what we do. We went over to the rugby game. I'll be mentioning these guys in stories once in a while because they each have a certain influence in my life that's really important. So, but that'll come later. I want to hit a point real quick. It's kind of funny. As I started doing this podcast and as I do artistic things and as I'm doing, like CDs and books and videos and now podcasting, I was remembering what Vaquero and I were talking about the other day, and I mentioned in the other podcast, so many people give advice and they've never done anything. Like, not in a bad way. I know people are trying to help and everything, but it seems to like boggle the mind how much people say, well, hey, what about this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And I'm like, have you ever done a podcast? Have you ever made a video? Well, anyone can make a video nowadays, right? And I'm not trying to put people down. It's just, so much work goes into it. And I feel, right, like one thing that we restarted the Patreon here, and all of you guys here who are here, I just, I really appreciate you guys. We have, the different tiers from $3 on up to $25. And I think that's perfect for me. And I love the $3 tier too, and people who join that, because you're buying me a cup of coffee and I'm giving you a podcast. So far this is like episode number 5 of On the Path of Capoeira. So this is 5 podcasts, for you to listen to with coffee, and cost you $3. So even if you're here at the $3 tier, you mean as much to me as everybody else. I just want to say that because I really appreciate everybody here supporting and, helping me to do what I do. I was talking to my wife and I said, the way I'm doing this is because I've separated everything I do, right? For example, for me, the separation of how I'm going to take things forward from now on is very simple. If you're here on Patreon, you're part of a smaller community, and social media is great, but there's no way for me to make any funds or any money or any support off of that. So I don't want to get into all of that stuff, but that's why Patreon is such a great platform, because it helps to support what I do. And like I said, it's just great that you guys are here. What I'm using on Facebook and Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and YouTube is to reach as many people as possible, right? I want to be able to use it to promote my Capoeira Academy and share my artistic passions with the world. And it's very important because those are things that a lot of people can see. Unfortunately, none of those have any value for me. I find from the research I've done, even if you had like 20,000 followers, unless people are watching and this algorithm and do this and do that and this and that, I mean, it's a full-time job just to be like an influencer on social media. So for me, the Patreon works out well because the people who, care enough to actually do something can. I mean, I've got a couple of people who are from, Latin America, and they don't make that much money. So the $3 tier for them, they're like, this is good. We're loving to help, and sorry we can't do more. And I'm like, oye, compa, gracias. You know what I mean? That's all I can say. People who are coming out to help me and to support what I do. Now, so Patreon moving forward, will be where I share my challenges in my life, right? And the challenges that develop me into a capoeira master. And I know I've said that before, but I really thought about that because one of the biggest challenges I think people have is the challenge of not understanding how to appreciate. And I really consciously always make that thought in the morning. Like the first thing I do when I wake up, I look over at my beautiful wife, and I just appreciate the fact that I'm married to a wonderful person who keeps me grounded and solidified in my life. The Patreon will also be the platform which will allow me to share behind the scenes content, right? A lot of the stuff, yesterday I did the video, music video, and it was a practice video. My boy Bobby was telling me, he's somebody who's been involved in film production. He was like, how many people helped you film everything and do everything? And I was like, it was just me. And he was like, wow, that's a lot of shoots, right? That's a lot of shots that you took of the videos, and then editing and everything took about, I would say, 2 hours. And then the editing, like filming the different things. A big thank you to the Sojo temple down the street. It's the temple that's just about 50 feet from my academia, and they're amazing. It was a beautiful day yesterday, a beautiful story. I went in there and I saw a young monk that I hadn't seen before, and I go, wow, I feel like I know this guy, right? I know this young monk. And he looks at me and he goes, Sensei, and I'm like, okay, he knows me. Okay, why do I know him? And he goes, it's me. I'm the son of the head monk of the temple. And I go, oh my God. He goes, I haven't seen you in years. He goes, yeah, I've been studying abroad. I studied at another temple, not abroad, but Buddhist monks tend to go to other temples, not their home temples, to study, so they can get some experience on how to run the temple and all that. So he's back, and I was like, your dad, the head monk had mentioned that it's okay for me to film and to take pictures here. And he goes, oh, my dad loves you. And I just felt so good, right? Being here, Capoeira Zuador started on August 2nd, 2003. My wife and I, it was Travis, Billingham, Charles, and Ian, and Nick, and Zumbi, and we were just here, and we were just getting stuff done. I remember painting and how much it's evolved and changed over the years. My academia over 20 years has changed so much, and I almost feel like it's a reflection of how much I've changed and matured. And I feel really blessed about that. So a lot of this kind of stuff that I'm doing here, telling you guys, how I live my life and choices I've made, or the things that have influenced me to become who I am. And first and foremost, as I always say, I'm a Mestre of Capoeira. That's how I see myself. That's how I present myself to the world. And I'm really blessed to do it. So you guys are going to get more and more behind the scenes content. And here the podcast is hopefully to brighten your guys' day as you listen to it. And more important, to, maybe do a little bit of mentorship for those who listen and think, hey, I can apply some of the stuff Mestre says to my own life, right? And I'm trying to do that in a very positive and holistic way to share with the world. So, back to the story about filming. I went over to film, and I used a lot of the techniques I've been learning on YouTube, right? Like there's this guy who does, I can't remember what the channel is, but he shows you how to use the gimbal. He shows you all that stuff, and I had a blast trying the different camera angles. The stability was a challenge. It's not easy. I'm going to practice and try to get better. I've got many more ideas for more videos. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video of each of the Mestre Vibes songs and the Vamos que Vamos songs. And I've got so much material that I'm hoping to add videos of my life, of what I do, and just to share with you all, my music, my artistic expression, and my life here in Japan. What Bobby had asked me, how, it would have been better if there was some capoeira in the video, but at the same time, I know, I love you, Bobby, thanks for saying that, but it was it's a Buddhist temple, and I just felt it wasn't the appropriate place to do capoeira for the video. I could have done capoeira at my academia and flashback, but I really just wanted to share in the first video the beauty of a temple that I pass every day for the last 20 years, right? I also feel like it might have been a little inappropriate to do that kind of stuff at that time of the day, or, without asking and setting up everything so that the monks could be there. The monks were actually, they're really kind, and they're always supportive of what I do here. They all actually volunteered to be in my next video if I ever did it again. And I was like, thank you so much. They're just really wonderful people over there. Back to the video, right? The hardest thing with the video is just deciding what the shots are going to be. I didn't really have a storyboard per se ready to go. What I actually did was just kind of had an idea of some different techniques that I wanted to try from the YouTube videos I've been watching. So you can see that me panning up close, up, following a tree, slow motion with some of the walking, slow motion with the sun between the pine tree needles and all that. One of my favorites, I guess, is when the one where you walk into somebody and then you switch it around. I did that with the young monk that was there yesterday, and I also did that with myself. So I'm practicing, right? It takes time. You got to know when to slow down, when to speed up. There's so many cool things going on and things that I'm learning from YouTube that sometimes it's overwhelming, but we'll get there. A big shout out to today's word. I gonna say this because it was funny. Vaquero had said this to me because we say self-taught, but he said autodidactic, right? I haven't heard that word in forever, not since I was in college in the United States. So a big shout out to Vaquero. Thank you. It's a very kind thing to say. I think it's also because I'm pre-internet era, which means that I'm still used to having to chase after everything I do. In Portuguese, it's a big expression that I like, and it says, você tem que correr atrás. You have to chase after everything. And that's something I've always done, and I don't think I would be able to get to where I am if I hadn't done that. Eyes on the prize, go after it. And it's a very important trait to have. It really is. You got to chase after it, especially nowadays. I teach a lot of kids, so I see, for example, yesterday in class, I say, okay, take a break, get some water. And people start moseying along. If you don't know what moseying along means, it's like, just slowly moving. And I just snap, not angry, but like, move, go get your water and get back here. I go to adult classes. How are you guys walking? Like, do. And Contra Mestre Jacaré just laughed. And he just started to go, certo, Mestre, like really funny. Like, that's right, Mestre. And it was funny because it's good. And all the kids, when they came back, they were like a little bit more hop in their step. And they looked at me and they knew I was right. They were like, you're right, Mestre. Like, we're doing. I say, hey, guys, you need to do that yourselves. You guys need to motivate yourselves, okay? Now, so there it is about the video and a little bit about what happened yesterday. Now I want to talk to you guys about a chart I made, and I think it's really important because it can define different things for you. And I actually talked about this in my class yesterday. For me, one of the key things being a capoeira teacher is I tell them one of the most important ingredients in being a capoeira master, a teacher, whatever, is I asked my students yesterday, right? I said, hey guys, can you tell me, have you ever seen a high-level athlete or a high-level performer in anything who had a teacher or a coach who was just like, oh, okay, that's good. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's nice. Have you ever seen any TV or anything where they show a video of an Olympic coach and he's just like, oh, good, under his breath? Or are these guys like, are these people like, go, be better? Constantly coaching is one of the things I feel that is fundamental to my job as a Mestre of Capoeira. I mentioned, making my students better, look good. I can't make them look good if I put their feelings before Capoeira. So what I do is I push them, I challenge them. They're here, so I know they love it and they love what I do. So I feel the liberty to really push them, especially as a coach might push an Olympic athlete. Do I expect all of my students to become top world famous capoeira people? No. But I will prepare them with all honesty and with all ability that I have for them to do that if they choose so. So one of the biggest things I talked about yesterday was vivencia. And vivencia means to grow with, to live alongside, to be on the same path, right? And I have a little chart here. It's called Vivencia dos Mestres, right? And it talks about how I live my life as a Mestre of Capoeira. And I made a list, right? Like things that I do that I feel my students need to be more aware of, because it's all about giving them information and choices, right? I said, guys, whatever I show you, what I talk about in the next few minutes, I want you guys to know you can ask me anytime. I'm here for you guys. And whether they do that or not is their choice, but I have to do my best to let them know I'm here for them. So I talked about capoeira contemporánea, and I said, contemporary capoeira, this is what we generally do in our academia. And this is something that is pretty much the mainstay of capoeira around the world, the flashy capoeira, everything you see, and this is contemporary capoeira. I don't want to get into the whole politics of regional and how people misuse the word, and it's just crazy. But anyways, I'm just going to say, contemporary capoeira, that's what we do here. Capoeira Angola is traditional capoeira that has become very stylized due to a need to create an identity for capoeira that is more African based. Okay, so that's another story, and I'll get into that in another podcast because that's going to take me hours. But I also grew up playing that, so I can play that, but I haven't recently, so I started training again. This chart's also so that I can reflect on what I haven't done. Ladainhas is the introductory song in a capoeira game, and people have told me, oh, Master, you do a lot of ladainhas, and a lot of the Brazilian masters and stuff have told me, the reason young people don't do it is because they don't know how. They don't have the patience. But the ladainha should match, and it embodies so much of the philosophy of capoeira. So you could study 20 ladainhas, and it's better than studying, 10 books on capoeira, because the philosophy, the ritual, the roots, the fundamentals of capoeira, a lot of them are based in the ladainha. Cantigas de capoeira. Are you able to sing the different capoeira songs? And when I say sing, I mean apply them to the roda that you're in. Not just singing to show you can sing or singing something you don't understand, but matching it, right? For example, if you get a rasteira and somebody starts singing, a bananera cayó, the banana tree fell. So are you matching the songs? I tend to try to match the songs, and I tend to make it so that students can slowly understand the meanings. I said, more important for me is not whether you can sing 1,000 songs, but you can understand a good 20 or 30 so that you can be more motivated in the roda and you can feel the capoeira game and the energy. Floreiros. Floreiro means to flourish, like when a flower flourishes. And this is what the traditional name that I learned for capoeira acrobatics, right? I don't really say acrobatics or acrobato or acrobacia. I say floreiro, right? Entradas, these are the takedowns in capoeira. When you enter the space of your partner and you play and you try to take them down, be it with a baianada, a rastão, a rasteira, a vingativa, whatever. And then the last thing that what we'll call the physical aspects of capoeira is I also train navalinha, which is a straight razor. I train with it by holding it in my mouth. I train with it with my hands. And I train with it also by putting it and holding it with my toes. So if you've ever seen me do that show, you know how it is. And I think that part is more traditional aspect that we use for performance, because I don't really see the navalinha so much as a martial arts aspect, more as a street elegance. I guess if that makes any sense. It's very elegant from the street. So the navalinha, I'm sure there's masters out there who know how to use a razor incredibly well. Me, I do it more as a performance art and as a way to connect to the old masters of capoeira. After that, I talk about art and culture, right? What else do we do outside of the capoeira? We do maculelê. Maculelê is the stick dance that, we have 2 sticks and we play on the Congo rhythm and sing songs about, warriors and the beauty of maculelê. Puxada de rede, pulling of the net, the fisherman's song. It's connected to a very beautiful part of Afro-Brazilian culture where people sing about the goddess of the ocean and sailor songs and fishing songs, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful folkloric presentation. I'm fixing it so that I can start putting it out again. Samba reggae is something I love. My kids are playing it and they really love it. It's just, a mix from Bahia and the northeast of Brazil. The Caribbean rhythms mixed with samba and especially heavily influenced by reggae from Jamaica. Samba de roda is a traditional samba style from the northeast of Brazil, especially Bahia. And it includes more, I would say, it's more vivacious, more tribal, or more earthy, composed to the samba that we do from Rio de Janeiro and the big carnival samba, which is more malandro, more elegant, more beautiful. Not more beautiful, but in a more elegant way, right? For me, samba de roda is very Afro-Brazilian tribal, and the samba from Rio de Janeiro is very elegant, parade style samba. So I love them both and I do them both, and it's something that's really amazing. Samba duro is something that I'm trying to teach my students. We had our first samba duro roda for just a few minutes with Contra Mestre Jacaré, just a little bit yesterday, and it's when you do the samba, but there's still kicking and sweeping and headbutts in it. And it has to be done. The goal is not just to do the movement, but the goal is to be the coolest person doing the movement while keeping the samba dance going. Malabarismo is the juggling of the pandero, and it's something that I've used and I really love doing. And of course, I'm going to be making videos with some of that stuff. So just hold on. Dança Afro is a mixture of all the Afro-Brazilian dance, all the different slave cycles, and the different people that came from Africa and came to the New World, and on the plantations and in the quilombos, the free slave states, and just anywhere in the town centers, they mixed and became what we call Afro-Brazilian dance or dança afro. And finally, ritmos afros or Afro-Brazilian rhythms such as Ixixá, Congo, Barravento, Agueré, Bravun, Igbi. There's so many, Opai Niger, there's so many beautiful rhythms in the Afro-Brazilian tradition. I do about 20, and I really love doing that. So I'm practicing those, and I love doing that too. Even though I don't get a chance to use all of these all the time, I still passionately love it. Finally, I talked about the fundamentals of capoeira. The importance of the history of capoeira, the importance of the technical history, right? Because it's almost amazing how little people actually study the history of capoeira. And people nowadays want short, easy answers for everything. And basically everybody does a Wikipedia, one paragraph, capoeira is, and then they move on. But the beauty of the history is very important too. Like, how did the slave cycles work? How did Afro-Brazilian culture develop? How was it in comparison? And I did it in Capoeira University, a compare and contrast with other slave cities and slave destinations, African destinations during the transatlantic slave trade. Vivência, I said, look, vivência is everything outside of the class you paid for, right? You pay for the capoeira class, but everything outside of that is vivência. Sitting with your master, playing a little bit after class or with your friends, all of that is vivência. All of these things on the art and culture are vivência, things outside of the capoeira class that you have to choose and you have to ask questions for. Vocabulario, guys, you have to study. People, study, please. Just study the vocabulary. Even if you don't speak the language, you've got to study it. Sometimes it's disheartening going to rodas and people singing everything and anything, not knowing what it means, not singing in context, and it just throws the energy off, right? It's for me, it's important. So I just hope people will study more the vocabulary, but people want to just do what they do, right? Then finally, the roda. Do you really know how to do the roda? Are you giving to the roda? Are you part of that sacred chain of ashe, that energy that you're contributing to the roda? Are you playing? Are you singing? Are you bringing a good attitude? That's all important in the roda. For example, the other day I told my two girls who are sixth graders, and they're doing the adults class recently, and they're on fire. That I go in the adults class. We don't buy the game or comprar o jogo by going, yeah, because you're supposed to be paying attention. In the kids class, half the kids don't pay attention. They're just all over the place. And they were so shocked. And I said, well, that's it right there, because you've got to be connected to the roda. And one of the base rules of capoeira is anything that happens to you is your fault, because you chose to be there. You chose to go in the roda. You chose to do capoeira. So it's all your responsibility. Musicalidade is just, unfortunately, 90% of the capoeira music that I hear is not very musical. It's got great energy and it can be a lot of stuff, but the farther you get from Brazil, even less quality I'm seeing, and less people who are involved have more musical quality in what they're doing. Ancestralidade is being connected to the ancestors. It's the oral traditions that we have in capoeira, the stories about old masters, the stories about Besouro Maganga, things that we don't even know are true, but they add to the capoeira lore, to our identity, to our culture, to our melting pot of capoeira thinking and movement. And finally, it's so important to study all of this stuff so that you can derive a capoeira philosophy that will help you on your path in life. For me, everything I've just mentioned has come together to give me a perspective and a way of looking at the world as a capoeirista. This is what I do, and this is why I think these points are so important. If you guys have anything you'd like to add, you can always email me, and I'm more than happy to do this, and I really enjoy it. Guys, thank you for joining me here on the 5th episode of On the Path of Capoeira, and guys, have a great day.